Alright, what's up? How's it going here? Uh, Today I'm going to be reacting to Paul Klee's Flower Myth, 1918, also known as Blumenmythos, because he spoke German. Uh, and this is very interesting. This is watercolor on pastel foundation. So watercolor painted with watercolor on a pastel foundation on fabric and newsprint. And this is of course just my. I can't say this for a fact, but it's pretty clear that the uh, the materials he uses here, a pastel foundation on fabric and newsprint, is indicative of him. I am assuming he was in exile, or he was in Germany. Either way, in 1918 there were not a lot of resources in German-speaking nations or German-speaking areas because World War II had just ended. World War I had just ended. So that right off the bat, that fact indicates the sort of desperation, disillusionment that's going on with this painting, and we can explore it a little further right here. You sort of see right off the bat a little bit of parallelism between right up here and right down here, with this sort of white coming down from the top and black coming up from the bottom. And this likely represents a duality. The easiest thing to go with here would be good versus evil, but I think it'll take a little bit more of some analysis to find that out. And we notice here a bunch of sort of skeletal-looking shrubs are poking out. Obviously, these aren't the fixture of the painting. This is, but we can sort of admire them. Take a little look. Alright, it's a bit blurry. But yeah, these could just be. I'm assuming that this main flower in the beginning here, sorry, in the center here, is the focus, and potentially him. He feels like he's a little flower, or maybe he's this bird surrounded by a bunch of skeletons, and potentially the everybody else. Everybody's lost. Everybody's forlorn, and he feels like he wants to be this little flower blooming, but he isn't necessarily. And potentially this bird coming down from the sky here is about to pluck that juicy looking thing right off the flower and kill it, so it's just like the rest of these shrubs. Also, this could be potentially not necessarily the flower yet, but just the future of the flower, and then this here is the little seed, and that bird could also be coming after that, or the bird could just be there for the sake of having a bird there. This bird is, of course, an interesting little construct. Alright. It's a box. It's got these twigs on it. And it has this general shape that sort of is reminiscent, you could say, of an airplane. I'm not too familiar with the life experiences of Klee, but potentially he was there when some of the. I was thinking of the wrong World War again, but potentially this is representative of an airplane, which of course did play a major role for the first time in World War I in a war. What we have over here the moon, and it's a crescent moon, and we have these little bulbous shapes around, including the moon, as well as here and here and here. And what these could be representative of, I'm not sure, but if you think about it, the way that these shrubs almost hang upside down from the top, and how this functions as a shelf, as opposed to these just being suspended in this red background, which is beautifully painted, of course. You could say this is him saying, my life's been flipped upside down with these hanging from the top as opposed to just sitting on the background. And that would also explain this sort of parallel, the black in that corner, white there, this little thing and that little thing. But all hypotheses, of course, and we see this little seed here that's springing, that's the little root through from which this beautiful flower is emerging. And you can really see the background textures here especially, and this sort of cloudy vibe is very beautiful, and as are these colors, in stark contrast to the relatively dull, other than the red, but the relatively dull colors used here. It's a very strong teal. And looking around, sorry, zooming in doesn't do it any favors, but looking around at this background here, you can sort of see the rough nature of this, and that could just be damage endured by this painting over the years, but I think definitely here it's sort of representative of the how rough the going-ons of the world are right there. How nothing's certain. There's no certain color here. There's no just flat, okay, this is a painted red. There's all sorts of specks and dots and little inconsistencies because not everything's going as planned. And it's especially evident down here where you can really, and here, where you can especially see the sort of the sort of texture of the newsprint and the fabric, especially the fabric, peeking through. And yeah, we sort of have this might be some sort of roof here. Maybe it's this sky. Sort of functioning as I'm not too sure, but this bird is definitely going for something. Most likely coming down, as I proposed earlier, to snatch some sort of this flower, or maybe it's going to be a symbiotic relationship, and they're just going to live. And this is maybe the future of this flower. This bird is gonna drop some other seeds by it or give it some pollen, but I wouldn't assume that that's the case. And got some very beautiful pink up here, of course. Now this is overall a rather simple painting. There's a lot to it, but it's simple. You know, there's the bird coming down, and there's the flower here, and the red background, and a few shapes, a few shrubs. But I think knowing the context brings a lot more out of this painting. And this has been my reaction to Paul Klee's Flower Myth, or Blumenmythos, 1918, watercolor on pastel foundation on fabric and newsprint. Thank you very much for watching.